Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today we are talking about something that always eluded me, VESA, or specifically VBE, VESA BIOS extensions. VBE 1.2, VBE 2.0, VBE 3.0, who even knows what that means? Well, to understand what VBE actually is, we need to go back in time and consider a market where IBM was no longer the leader. Many manufacturers entered the market and offered IBM clones. But not only the complete systems itself were the issue, also the components, specifically the graphics cards. We moved from MDA displays to EGA to CGA and then finally to VGA displays. And because those manufacturers of VGA cards decided what modes they supported, specifically resolution and color depth, it was difficult for software developers to support so many different devices. That is why VESA was born. VESA stands for Video Electronics Standards Association. As the name implies, it was born to create standards for video electronics. One of their first efforts was to create a standard for VGA modes, specifically the VESA BIOS extensions. Now here in this list you can see 4 of them. We will not cover VESA 1.0 or 1.1. We will start with VESA 1.2 and 2.0. The reason is I only have a graphics card that supports VBE 1.2 right now. This is my S3 Trio 64V Plus that I recently fixed by swapping the graphics chip. This somehow failed over time, I have no idea what happened, but yeah, with the old graphics chip this card wasn't working at all. Now it's back in service and it supports VBE 1.2, VESA BIOS extension 1.2. And how can you figure out what your graphic card supports? Well, you can use one of the better known hardware information utilities. For instance, let's check hardware info. And here we'll see my S3 Trio 64V Plus and also the VESA support on the very bottom, the last row says VBE 1.2. But let me show you one other tool, which is NSSI. And here you can see that we have on the video an S3 Trio SVGA with 2 MB, and then there is VESA VBE 1.2. But what does it mean to have a graphics card that is VBE 1.2 compatible? Well, as I said before, VESA BIOS extensions were an effort to standardize VGA resolutions. To get a better idea, let's have a look at PC Player Benchmark. I'm sure you have seen the PC Player Benchmark many times, but maybe you're not aware that the PC Player Benchmark has more functions than just rendering this 3D scene. By the way, on the bottom left you see VESA Mode 100. 640 by 400, 8 bits per pixel. So let's just keep that in mind because yeah, everything hopefully gets clear in a moment. So I mentioned that the PC Player Benchmark supports more functions. Let's have a look at them. Here you can see that you can run the PC Player Benchmark with a specific VESA mode. And in the application we have seen the VESA Mode 100. But you could run PC Player in a different mode. How to get those modes? Well, luckily it lists a switch here that shows you which modes are supported. So PC Player Bench / modes. And here we can see a nice list of modes that this graphics card supports. And here is our 8 bits per pixel at a resolution of 640 by 400, which is the VESA Mode 100. Now we could change it to something else, so we could run, for instance, PC Player in VESA Mode 111, which is 16 bits per pixel at a resolution of 640 by 480. Let's try that. And here is PC Player at a resolution of 640 by 480. Sorry, it's a little bit cropped and moved around, but yeah, so this is 640 by 480 at 16 bits per pixel. But still, what is all this about? Yeah, great, we have a standardized list that game developers could use as a reference. But is there more than just a standardization to VBE 1.2? Well, yes, there is. Now, here I have a list of VESA versions with their most important features. VESA 1.2 was released in 1991, VESA 2.0 in 1994, and VESA 3.0 in 1998. However, by that time, VESA was no longer as important because we moved from MS-DOS to Windows and then there were drivers and this was a completely different technology. So we only focus on VESA 1.2 and 2.0. Banked memory is supported by both VESA versions, but for VESA 2.0, it's optional and we get to this in a moment. Then we have the linear frame buffer, which is not supported in VESA 1.2, but is in VESA 2.0. And this is why the banked memory is optional. The linear frame buffer feature replaced banked memory. Then we have 32-bit protected mode interface, which is supported by VESA 2.0. So it was much easier for game developers to reach into the graphics hardware from protected mode. In VESA 2.0, we also have higher color depth and more resolutions. Unfortunately, hardware cursor and triple buffering was not a feature that was really available in VESA 1.2 or 2.0. It came in VESA 3.0, but this is not as important as the previous features. And finally, game compatibility was very high in VESA 1.2 and 2.0. Almost all games from the DOS era either targeted VESA 1.2 or 2.0. Now, before we look at Duke 3D, I want to explore banked memory. And then later on with VESA 2.0, we'll look at the linear frame buffer. In VESA 1.2, we only have access to banked memory. And what is that? So let's have a look at Checkit. And in Checkit, you have this nice memory map. In here, you have the first megabyte of system memory split between conventional and reserved or upper memory. In the upper memory, the first block is the VGA video RAM. This is used by the system to gain access to the video memory that's on the graphics card. Not all of this memory is used for the same purpose. So from A1000 to B1000, we have a 64 kilobyte area for the VGA graphics. Then from B1000 to B800, we get 32 kilobytes of MDA text. MDA stands for monochrome display adapter. This is an area that is many times reclaimed if you want to optimize your MS-DOS memory management. These 32 kilobytes can be then used in upper memory for loading drivers or parts of MS-DOS or something like that. But then we have B800 to C1000, which is text and graphics for CGA. And if I'm not mistaken, this area may also be used by VGA graphics cards, but I'm not really sure about that. What we are going to focus on are the 64 kilobytes of VGA graphics memory. This is a window into the memory of the graphics card, basically the memory chips that are physically located on the graphics card. The program can write into this specific memory, which then is mapped to the memory on the graphics card. Now my S3 Trio 64V Plus has 2 megabytes, but I only have 64 kilobytes here. To fill all 2 megabytes on my graphics card, using that 64 kilobyte block in the upper memory, there has to be a mechanism to map the 64 kilobytes to a specific section of the memory on my graphics card. And this is achieved by paging or banked memory access. So this works in a way that first I set up which 64 kilobytes on the video memory I want to write to, and then I write the information in the upper memory block from A1000 to B1000. And then it is written into the memory of my graphics card. That window in the upper memory block always remains the same. It's always there, but it references a different section on my graphics card. Now, you know probably the tool mem in MS-DOS. It lists what's your conventional memory, what's your upper memory, reserved, extended, and so on. In here, we see that I have a total of 640 kilobytes of conventional memory. And usually, we do not touch the 640 kilobyte barrier. But we are going to do that now. So let's open config.sys. What you can see here is that I just want to add my MS-DOS EMM386 memory manager. And I say include A1000 to AFFF. This is basically the last address before we reach B1000. This was then already when we started into the MDA section. Now this should give us 64 kilobytes extra for our conventional memory. Let's restart and see what mem is going to tell us now. Oh, look at that. We have 704 kilobytes of conventional memory and free are 682. And it looks like DOS is still working. Let's try Checkit. Hey, looks good. So this was our video RAM, and here, things got kind of messed up. Well, you can see that the available memory that's listed here jumped now over the 640 kilobyte barrier. And you can see that the 4 letters A are part of the available memory. Before, this was our VGA graphics memory. But, well, now we freed it up and everything looks fine, right? So great. We can maybe even add more and have 800, 900 kilobytes of conventional memory, right? No, unfortunately not. Let me try to run PC Player. So I will run it exactly like before. This should be VESA mode 100, 640 by 400 at 8 bits per pixel, I think. Let's see. Whoops. Yeah. Nothing works. Can we exit out? Yes, we can. But then look at this. Memory allocation error, cannot load command com, system halted. So yeah, that's basically it. Our system crashed. We can't do anything anymore. And this is the end of it. So no, we cannot just reclaim these 64 kilobytes of VGA memory and use it for whatever we want. So it's unfortunately not that easy. But I hope that this banked memory explanation was somehow understandable. So let's undo this and let's not use EMM 386 at all. Now we'll slowly move forward and try to reach the linear frame buffer. But first, let's have a look at Duke 3D and specifically the setup, because there is something interesting that I never knew what it meant. So in here you have the screen setup and you have the 320 by 200 normal mode, but then you also have VESA modes. You have SVGA and VESA 2.0. Now, if you go in there, you also have a resolution of 320 by 200, exactly like the normal mode. So what's the difference? Well, if I'm not mistaken, this is just a standard VGA resolution that game was programmed for, but there are no other resolutions. And I have a feeling this option was there for people that had a slow system and no VESA 2.0 compatible graphics card. Because if you go in here now and pick the first one, it tells me this mode requires a VESA 2.0 compliant video card. I know my S3 Trio 64V Plus does not support it. It only has support for VESA 1.2. Let's try to run Duke in this resolution with my graphics card that is not VESA 2.0 compliant. And so the game loader exited, and the last message that we see, VESA says that 320 by 200 is not currently supported. And if we look up the modes that we got from PC Player, we can see that there is no 320 by 200 resolution listed. So yeah, it does make sense that Duke 3D cannot operate in that resolution, because it's not supported. But we did have the normal mode 320 by 200. And this most likely will work. Let's try it. There we go. The game starts without issues. Now what I want to do is I want to try and run some benchmarks. So you will see the frame counter in the top left corner, and we are around 71, 73, 83 after the shuttle crashed or whatever that was. So yeah, we get around, let's say 83, 87 frames per second. It's not a precise counter, so yeah, it's a little bit difficult to make out numbers here. But the game runs pretty good. This is a Pentium 200, by the way, and I chose this because I did not want the CPU to be the bottleneck of rendering this game. That we'll see really what's the benefit of VESA 2.0. So as you can see, this game runs pretty good in that resolution. Now let's try a different resolution. So we tried the normal mode. Let's go to VESA or SVGA. And we had a pop-up before that the first two resolutions are only available in VESA 2.0 mode. But 640 by 480 doesn't complain. And if you remember PC Player, 640 by 480 is a supported resolution for my graphics card, so this is not a problem. And yes, it starts without issues. My graphics card is VESA 1.2 compatible. Now, of course, if you have a 486 DX266, this resolution may be way too high for that CPU. I haven't tried it yet, but I can imagine that the CPU is hopelessly underpowered for this resolution. So here's now the game in 640 by 480. Unfortunately, the frame counter now is a lot smaller in the top left corner. And you see we dropped to 24 frames here. And this is what I want you to keep in mind now. The previous resolution is not that important. But this one, 640 by 480, we are still just running VESA 1.2. Now, what if I told you that you could upgrade your graphics card from VESA 1.2 to 2.0 by just loading a small application? You don't believe me? Well, let me show you what UniVBE is. UniVBE, or UniVBE BIOS extensions, is just a small application that provides you with all the features that you have seen in my previous chart. It makes banked memory optional, it introduces linear frame buffer, it provides a better interface for 32-bit protected mode, it supports more resolutions and higher color depth, and it is highly compatible with DOS games. I'll show you two commands that I will use. First is to load UniVBE, and the second one is to disable VBE 3.0 because we do not care about this at all. So UniVBE, and this is all you get. It detected my graphics chip with 2 megabytes of memory. It detected a RAM DAC and the clock chip. That's it. So if we run this one more time, it gives you now a summary of which options are enabled and disabled. And you see the first line, VBE 3.0 support is on. We can disable VBE 3.0 by just running UniVBE off VBE 3.0. And it comes back with VBE 3.0 support disabled. Now if we run UniVBE one more time, you see the first line is off now. Let's see what modes we get in PC Player now. So here are the modes that we had before. Let's have a look which modes are available now. Oh, look at that. The list got a lot bigger. We still have our 640 by 400, which is the VESA mode 100, but we got a lot more in the lower resolutions. We got 512 by 384, we got 400 by 300, 320 by 240, and 320 by 200. This is the resolution that Duke 3D requested. And you can also see in the line above, before all these resolutions, VESA VBE extensions 2.0. This was different before. We had 1.2 here before. Let's run hardware info. And here you see support for VBE 2.0. We didn't have that before. And we also get additional information who or what provides the VBE 2.0 support. Let's run quickly NSSI because I also used that before. So also in here, video, we have still the same, but now we have VBE 2.0. Also, this tool detects it correctly. A VESA VBE version 2.0, and we also get the universal VESA VBE 6.7. This is again the application version. So yeah, just by running this small application, we got our graphics card upgraded to VBE 2.0. Now the question is, do we get some extra benefits? And technically, yes, we should. We should get a lot of benefit because we are replacing banked memory access with linear frame buffer. What that is, I'll explain in a moment. But let's run Duke and see if we can now pick VESA mode 320 by 200. We still get this very scary pop-up, but now let's see if we can launch Duke in that resolution. Yes, it does. So UniVBE enabled this mode. Now usually when you have a middle layer somewhere in between, things get slower because you need additional processing power to also service the middle layer. But let's see if this is actually true. Okay, so we are in 70, 87, 96. I think we get a higher frame rate here than we had before. Let's see. So this is the 320 by 200 resolution. Okay, well, you can let me know if you think there was a difference or not, but now let's try 640 by 480. So just because 640 by 480 is a VESA 1.0 standard, it doesn't mean that we won't get the benefits of VESA 2.0 now. Now if I run Duke in 640 by 480 with UniVBE enabled, I should still benefit from the linear frame buffer. Hopefully, we will see a much better frame rate when we start the game. And we are at 30 frames per second. 34. 36. This is more than 10 frames extra just by loading UniVBE. So 640 by 480 with UniVBE is 30% better than running it in VESA 1.0. And the difference is the banked memory was replaced by the linear frame buffer. So now instead of 20 to 30 frames, we are between 40 and 50 frames. This is a massive improvement utilizing VESA 2.0. You get more resolutions and you get the linear frame buffer. So yeah, if you have games that support VESA 2.0, you definitely should make sure that you have a VESA 2.0 compatible graphics card. But now let's try to figure out what this linear frame buffer is all about. So instead of the banked memory that I explained before, that we have this 164 kilobyte window in the upper memory, you now have access to another memory region that is directly mapped to the memory on the graphics card. So somewhere there is now 2 megabytes of memory reserved in the extended memory that is directly mapped to the memory on the graphics card. And that saves us from bank switching. But that would also mean that the 64 kilobytes in our upper memory area, the one that's reserved for VGA graphics, is available now if we have VBE 2.0 loaded, right? So let's restart the system again with our EMM386, including A1000 to AFFF. Then let's load UniVBE and then PC Player Benchmark. Yes, we have again 704 kilobytes, so our VGA graphics memory is now used by EMM386. So let's install UniVBE and let's just disable the VBE 3.0 support again. Okay, support disabled. So this is exactly what we had before. Let's quickly verify that we have all our modes in PC Player Benchmark. So we definitely have our VESA VBE version 2.0 available. This was what we have seen before. But now let's run PC Player. It should look different compared to before. Before it was just crashing. Nothing was moving, nothing was working. Is our linear frame buffer working? Has our access to the video memory moved somewhere else and we can utilize the 64 kilobytes extra for conventional memory? Yes! But there is something flickering. The top row and the bottom row. However, we managed 22 and something frames per second. We'll run this PC Player Benchmark one more time without VBE 2.0. But yeah, I think this is proof that we definitely have the linear frame buffer enabled. Let's exit out of this benchmark. We get this. So yeah, there are still problems even if we move the access to our video memory to a different region. Let's run PC Player one more time, but this time without UniVBE installed. Now we're definitely running with banked memory, and here you can see we have 18.4 maybe. I think we may also see it at the end of this benchmark. 18.4 frames per second. Let's run it one more time, but I will enable UniVBE, and then we also see the frame rate here that everybody is happy. And we again have 22 point something. Let's see how much it actually is. 22.9, almost 23 frames per second. So yeah, just by launching UniVBE, you get a lot more performance. If someone is running some benchmarks and has a VBE 2.0 capable graphics card, they will get a lot higher scores in PC Player Benchmark. It depends on which VESA BIOS extension version you have running. And I know that there are graphic cards out there that either support VESA 1.2 or 2.0 via the BIOS. Specifically the S3 Trio 64V2 DX. But this is something for another video. Now you can let me know in the comments if you were aware of all this, what we went through today. And yeah, leave a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. At the end, I want to thank all my Patreons for their support. If you want to become a Patreon and support my work, you can head over to Patreon and pick one of the membership tiers. Otherwise, if you don't want to pay for a membership, you can also sign up for the free tier. I will post free content from time to time, and you can see ahead of time on what projects I'm working on. So thank you so much for your time. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care and bye-bye.